Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to another Holiday Blitz miniature. This is going to be kind of a short video, but I wanted to have an opportunity to wish you all a safe and happy holiday season. I'm not sure how many videos I am going to get out over the next week or so. I have some traveling to do, but well, I will see what I can do. I'm just going to play it by ear. Anyway, this game was played on chess.com. I had the white pieces and started off with d4, and my opponent went knight f6. I went c4, and then my opponent went d5, and this is known as the Marshall defense. And if you've watched my channel for a while, you know that I don't think very much of this defense. It's not that it loses for black. Black can survive this, but with best play for both sides, white gets a bigger than usual opening advantage. So there are just better ways for black to play. Now the way to refute this as white, or the way to get the biggest advantage, is to immediately take that pawn, and then whatever piece takes back becomes a target, and you'll have a later e4. Now what's interesting is that e4 is met by e5. The immediate e4 is met by e5. So a key idea in this line against the Marshall is to play this move knight f3 next. First you exchange, then you get knight f3 out to prevent black from playing e5 and getting any kind of counterplay. And then later you're going to play e4, kick this knight back. And notice this is not the Grinfeld. In the Grinfeld, there would be a knight on c3, so when you kick the knight, it could exchange out on c3 and cause some interesting changes to your pawn structure that black hopes to exploit later. But in this case, after e4, the knight just has to retreat. So that's why this is not such a great defense. My opponent seemingly didn't want to accept that this was a bad defense and played bishop g4. I think this is the idea. I think with the idea of trading off the knight and then playing e5 anyway, if I give him the chance. But I went ahead and played e4 immediately, kicking the knight. And now he makes the fatal mistake. There's really only two playable moves in this position. He can either retreat the knight immediately, or he can exchange first on f3, hitting my queen. I take back, and then he retreats the knight. Either of those gives black a position that he can play on in. It's not great. White is certainly better in that position with more space and easy development. But, you know, black is still alive, and he can hope for a long game and hope for some mistakes from his opponent, which, of course, is likely to happen. Instead, he went knight b4, and this just loses immediately. So if you want to see if you can spot the winning move here. Okay, if you want to some time to think about it, go ahead and pause the video here. I'm going to give the answer away. The best move for white here is queen a4 check. And often this check can be met with a move like knight to c6. Knight to c6 will block the check and also defend whatever loose piece is on b4. Sometimes it's a bishop on b4 that's loose. But that doesn't work in this case because of the d5 pawn. The d5 pawn can just get pushed forward and pin whatever piece ends up on c6. He decided to retreat his knight, but basically black is just a piece down. But anyway, the game is not over. I continued with d5, hitting his knight. He decided to trade out on f3, damage my pawn structure, and then challenge my center with e6. I take the knight, and he takes back with the other knight. So that's why it really didn't matter in the earlier position whether he retreated the knight on b4 or advanced the knight on b8 to the c6 position, because you end up in this kind of position anyway after the trades. But I'm just a piece up, and let's see, he's got a pawn for the piece, and he's inflicted some damage on my pawn structure here, but my king is not in any real danger, and I have easy development. So I just continue with developing. Knight to c3, he goes bishop to b4, pinning my piece. I go bishop to b5, pinning his piece, but also threatening. There's this typical tactic of bishop takes c3 check, pawn takes, queen takes c3 check, and if he blocks with the queen, then I can grab the rook in the corner. So anyway, he plays, well, first he takes. He gets this tempo move in, bishop takes c3 with check, inflicting a little more pawn damage. And then he plays queen to d6. So getting his queen off the back rank, he's ready to castle in either direction. And he's also defending the knight on c6 against this idea of the exchange. So that if I want to exchange there, I'm not going to win any material. I might damage his pawns a bit, but I would have to give up the queens to do that. In any case, there's a much better move here for white. So here's another chance for you to spot the best move for white. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now. Pause the video if you want time to think about it. The move here is bishop to a3. Yes, developing a piece with tempo, just like they tell you in all the books. And it's also restricting some squares around the king, which is going to be important in a move or two. So the queen has to drop back. So developing with a tempo, developing to an active square that cramps your opponent's position. It's all good. And then you get another free developing move here, rip to d1. So after those two free moves, the queen went back to c8, and now there's a forced mate in 3. So if you want to see if you can figure out the mate in 3 from this position here, go ahead and pause the video and see if you can find it. Okay, I'm giving the answer away now. It starts out, it wasn't too hard to find, I hope. It starts out with the obvious bishop takes c6 check. And notice that because of those two free developing moves I got, the king has no squares. So that's why it's a forced mate. It's not just winning some material here, but there's really no escape. He played pawn takes c6. Pawn takes bishop. I played queen takes c6, and he resigned at this point. His king still has no moves. And after queen to d7, I just take the queen, and that's mate. Let's back up. There was one more mate here that was kind of nice, taking advantage of all of my pieces. If I take on c6, like I did, like I said, his king can't move. He took the bishop. The other way to avoid mate, for a move or two anyway, is to block with the queen. And then you get this variation. Queen to d7, bishop takes. The king only has one move. Notice this bishop is still blocking all of those squares, so the king goes here, and now there's a mate in 1 here. And I'm going to give that away now. The mate in 1 is bishop takes e6 check. And I like this because every piece is involved. The bishop is guarding these squares, the queen is guarding these squares, the other bishop is guarding these squares, and the rook is, excuse me, the rook is delivering the mate along the d-file. So I got all my pieces into the act in that line. only the rook in the corner was not being used. Anyway, it was a nice picture. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and again, I wish you a happy holiday season, and I will see you again soon. Bye.